Hi, my name is Manpreet Singh and welcome to my YouTube channel. This channel focuses on real estate and mortgage insights. This channel aims to empower viewers with the knowledge to make informed decisions in the real estate market. Please subscribe to stay informed about the Canadian real estate market. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I have a special guest with me, Jayden Kennedy. Jayden, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to start off with a few questions and we'll take the conversation from there.
Okay.
So my first question to all my guests is, how long have you been in the business of real estate? And what exactly inspired you to join real estate?
For sure. So I've had my license for just over 4 years now. I'm almost hitting my first full year full time, which is super exciting. But the reason why I got into real estate is because a lot of people, specifically in the Black community, we don't have easy access to financial literacy and financial literacy that's easily digestible, but also Canadian, right? There's a lot of content creators in the States, but a lot of that information doesn't apply to Canadians.
That's true.
And I find that in a lot of cultures, people are having financial conversations at the dinner table. They have access to resources or they see their parents leading by example. But unfortunately, in the Black community, we don't have as many people doing that. So I said, you know what? I'm going to educate myself and I'm going to educate as many people as possible. And the way I want to do that is via social media because I can hit multiple households as opposed to just having a one-on-one conversation. And through doing that, I just want to empower people and bridge the gap between financial literacy and real estate acquisition, while at the same time, sort of blazing the trail myself by also doing what it is that I'm teaching.
Right. And the first time I probably saw your video, all your videos, your content is well researched. You're almost like a mortgage broker, as I was saying before. And because running the numbers and understanding, it takes a lot of your time to do the complete research. But I want to go back a little bit in time. And when you started, what was the challenges that you faced? How was that period of time?
Yeah, so I think when I started, one of the biggest challenges that I faced is, number one, I didn't know any numbers. I didn't know what numbers to run. I didn't know how much money first-time home buyers needed. I didn't know savings, income, all of those things. So the first thing I wanted to do is really educate myself to make sure that I know exactly what I'm talking about. So not only would I put content out, but when people reach out to me to ask me questions about the content, I'm able to elaborate. So my first year or so, I was binge watching podcasts, YouTube. The thing is, being a realtor now, we're in the mortgage industry, there's so many resources at our fingertips. If we had have started 15, 20 years ago, it would be much harder to gain access to credible information.
100%.
But now it's super easy. So I just wanted to ingest as much information as possible so I could educate people. When I first started, I was Googling questions first-time homebuyers have because I didn't have any clients, so I didn't even know what type of content to put out. So I would say number one is not knowing what to put out. Number two, I didn't know how I was going to get clients. I tried the door knocking thing. It was unsuccessful. I said, you know what? Let me leverage social media once again to educate people. But I quickly realized that people found value in the content I was putting out and they were coming towards me as opposed to me chasing. So I'm, attracting as opposed to chasing, and people want to transact with those who they know, like, and trust, or feel like they know, like, and trust. So through putting that content out there and also being myself, I find that a lot of people on social media, they don't act like themselves, right? And that's where you're going to attract people who might not align with you. So just being myself on video really helped. And then also I would say my age, I am 28. Like I said, I got my license when I was around 24 and I am quote unquote competing with a lot of realtors who've been in the industry since potentially before I was born. So it's like, how am I going to position myself as someone who has a lot of knowledge and someone who you should trust when people literally have had their licenses before I was born? So once again, going back to social media and educational content, it's, hey, not only do I know what I'm talking about, but I'm able to sort of explain everything to you in a very easy way to digest, because there are a lot of realtors out there who have a lot of knowledge, but they don't know how to break it down in an easily digestible way to their clients. So I think that's sort of my little angle. So I would just say that I also got my broker's license when I hit 2 years, just to once again add credibility to my name, because a lot of people see me as a younger realtor. Actually, the last one, when people find me on social media and they have parents who've transacted in the past and they go to their parents and they say, hey, I found this girl on social media. Their parents are like, you found this girl on the internet? No. Use someone who we used in the past. So it's also sort of creating trust with the parents in the transaction so that they feel comfortable enough to take a chance on me and enable me to support their children.
Right. And then all your content is you're not using anything expensive in terms of the gear and all the videos are in the backyard.
Yes.
But then the main point is that the quality of the content, the education is well researched. And that's when I first saw the video. I was blown away. She really ran the numbers really well, because you're literally discussing how much income is needed if you want to purchase. And these are actually the questions of first-time home buyers.
Exactly.
They understand they can get a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, but at the same time, they also want to know where they stand and what is the procedure going to be like step by step. And you did an amazing job in breaking it down. And that also explains that you don't really need an expensive gear, or you don't need to be in an amazing place to shoot your content. Even in your backyard works, even in the iPhone works. And as long as your content is providing the value, right?
Exactly. And I think that's sort of one of the pain points of a lot of realtors in this industry is they're posting their flashy cars, these selfies. Yeah. And it's like, how does that provide value to the consumer, right? And a lot of people, it's hard to live the lifestyles that a lot of realtors put out there. So instead of showing your flashy car, show them how you bought your first property so you could leverage that property to purchase the first vehicle, right? We need to add more value to people's social media feeds. People are online so much. There's a saturation of crappy content that's also inaccurate. So a lot of people also see my content as a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh, Jayden posted. I know that I'm going to get an educational nugget. And what's really nice for me too is I have people DMing me. Someone DM'd me yesterday and they said, hey, I just opened an FHSA because of the advice that you gave. So seeing sort of the tangible results of the value I'm putting out there continues to sort of encourage me to put content out. And I feel like through the success that I've seen through social, I've also inspired a lot of other realtors to start taking the educational route, which makes me really excited too, because I feel like there's sort of negative perceptions of both realtors and mortgage professionals in the industry. And if we can all start educating people more, we will just, level up the industry as a whole and sort of break some of those preconceptions that a lot of people have about us.
I think it's really important to have that kind of mindset where your ultimate goal is to educate your followers or your clients. And at the same time, this is an industry that feeds us.
Yes.
So it's our responsibility to make sure that we provide the educational and genuine content where people can actually get a lot of help, right? So now I want to go back to your initial days.
Okay.
When you just got your license.
Yes.
How were those days? Did you feel like you are in the middle of nowhere? You don't know the direction? And what were the challenges in that period of time?
So one thing I will say, Rico, and all these boards, please don't come for me. But when you get your license, you don't know anything, right? When you take these courses, they show you like very logistical stuff, but they don't tell you how to deal with a client who's very emotional. Because what I learned very quickly is this is the biggest transaction of people's lives. There's a lot of emotions, and unfortunately, realtors, we are the face of the transaction. Doesn't matter if it's a lawyer, the cooperating party. A lot of the time, it hits either me or you guys as the mortgage professionals. So it's like learning how to deal with people's emotions and also problem solve. I think that in order to be successful as a realtor or a mortgage professional, you have to be, number one, have great communication skills, but number two, be able to resolve conflict, right? And a lot of people are worried about conflict. So I think that was one of the learning curves for me. Number two, lack of education. I feel like when I came out of the courses, you don't know what you don't know. I got hit with paperwork. I didn't know how to do any of the paperwork for my first buyer or my first seller. So what I ended up doing is I see it as an investment. A lot of realtors don't want to do this. I reached out to a realtor who has a lot of experience with first-time home buyers and who has a lot of experience with sellers. I said, look, I will go 50-50 with this on you. Show me. I want you to do everything. I want to understand your process so I can do this in the future. So I think just having a lack of knowledge when I got my license was sort of the biggest pain point when I was starting. Yeah. I don't know if that answered the question.
No, it does. It does. Would you call this person your mentor or?
No. So the thing is, I feel like with what I'm doing and what my vision is, there's not a lot of people who believe in social media the way that I do. So I am still sort of looking for someone who could be a mentor. Of course, there's like the Alex Hermosis of the world and stuff. I watch a lot of, his podcasts and sort of live vicariously through him to an extent or like learn from him. But I don't have a mentor. I wouldn't ever say that I had a mentor per se, but there are, for example, the owners of my brokerage. They really believe in me. They're connecting me with a lot of people just just, expanding my network so that I can pick the brains of people who I wouldn't have otherwise had access to. So I think that I am coming across a lot more people who really want to help me elevate and are providing value in that front. But I don't have like my one go-to, like Manpreet is my guy. It's like I have a few people who are supporting me.
True. And if I'm not wrong, about 40K followers on Instagram?
Yes, around there. I will say last year, I grew about 20,000 followers in 1 year. But once again, this is because I got very serious about my content. The only drawback right now is the content's getting me a lot of clients, but it's giving me less time to actually work on my content. So I'm trying to find a balance of servicing my clients while at the same time still putting value out, because yes, my clients, I want to service them, of course, but I want to continue to provide value to people who are yearning for additional, knowledge, who aren't ready yet.
That's exactly same thing happened with us.
Okay.
Is when we get busy.
This is a good problem.
It is a good problem at the same time, but you want to make sure that you are consistent with your posting your content. We try to do 1 or 2 podcasts a week, but sometimes when we get busy, we don't have time to plan for the next podcast, right? So that happens to us, but it's all about keeping the right balance, because put it through this way, your followers, they are following you to get some value, right? So now it's your responsibility that you make sure that you are posting at least, maybe once a week or twice a week, whatever you can.
Exactly.
So you kind of feel that responsibility for those 40,000 plus
and they
followers.
remind me, they're like, Jayden, I haven't seen a video this week. I'm like, damn, I was just watching Netflix. No problem. Let me go in my backyard, record a video. The only drawback of the way that I put my content out is that I'm always in my backyard. And sometimes I'm in public and people recognize me as, you're the realtor who records videos in their backyard. So it's almost like my backyard's my signature, but when it's negative 15, 20 outside, it's sort of hard to record these videos, right?
I was also seeing a video where you were showing the tree and behind you, and it was like, oh, the tree has changed. And this person is so consistent about posting or creating the content at the same spot.
Yes.
So that's really amazing. And now let's come back to working with first-time home buyers. You mentioned you work with a lot of first-time home buyers. And in my experience, first-time home buyers usually have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And just because they're first time getting into the transactions, they of course don't have a lot of experience. So what do you think are the challenges that you face in terms of working with the first-time home buyers?
So I would say number one is a lot of people thinking that because they have the minimum down payment, they can qualify for whatever number it is that they're looking for, or the other way around. Just because they have the income, they think they can qualify. But it's like, no, you still have to hit the minimum down payment requirements, which is going to give us an idea of what you could qualify for. However, your income is also going to determine how much of a property that you can purchase. I think specifically in the Black community, being honest, a lot of us don't have relationships with our credit scores. So it's understanding what your credit report is and doing what you can to build your credit. And that's why I always recommend to people, before you even think you're ready to make a move, connect with a mortgage professional, connect with a realtor so you can come up with a game plan. Because a lot of people come to me thinking they're in a certain position and then they're not. And then they feel like they're set back by a few months or a year because they have to better position themselves for ownership. So I would just say a lack of knowledge in terms of what the requirements are in order to go through with the transaction. Another pain point, which I try my best to actually deposit and down payment, right? A lot of people don't realize the difference between a deposit and a down payment. The down payment's associated with, your pre-approval, whereas your deposit, you have to give within 24 hours of your offer being accepted. So that's why, once again, I go onto social media to educate people so that when my clients come to me and I'm having a consult, these guys are like, yep, Jayden, I know once my offer is accepted, do not open any credit cards or quit my job. It's like, it's nice because a lot of the clients that come to me, they are educated because of my content. I would also say that a lot of my clients are, or just first-time homebuyers in general, they're sometimes blinded by the staging and how nice the property looks. But we have to keep in mind, if you're purchasing a property that already has the bells and whistles, you're strictly waiting off of appreciation, and you're paying for someone else's sweat equity. Or you purchase a property that needs a little bit of work, we can repaint, we can change the fixtures, make it look similar, and then you have forced the value of your property to go up. And I think just educating people, a lot of the time, the one with the bells and whistles, they could be in a bad area and they are at a lower price point. So you think, oh, this is an amazing house and it's fairly cheap. And it's like, yeah, you have to realize that it's cheap for a reason. And on that same token, I guess helping people realize that their first house is a stepping stone to their forever home. It's not your dream house because 10, 15 years ago, your parents could have bought a property for $300,000. It's worth 1.2 now, and that could be a forever home. $300,000 nowadays, you're not getting anything in the GTA, right? So our starting price points are at least, let's say, between 500,000 to upwards to $1 million, depending on where you're purchasing. So it's just changing our mindset and realizing, like, you know what? Gone are the days where our first home is going to be our forever home. We have to make a strategic purchase and then use that property to purchase, you know, our next one in the future. So I would say those are the main sort of things with my clients. Yes. What about you?
You touched a very important point.
Okay, yes.
And I'm going to just repeat them.
Okay.
Now, the number one is for first-time home buyers is the credit. A lot of times clients are not sure how the credit plays a role in securing a mortgage and on the steps after that. So a lot of times when you speak with credit clients, they're like, I've missed a few payments. So missing a payments is a big no. It's 100% going to negatively affect your application. If you have high balances, if you have used your credit cards, line of credits, that might be okay as long as you're making your minimum payments. And with the balances, as soon as you pay off those balances, your credit score will go back up, right? But having a delinquency on your credit is a big problem. So make sure whatever you do not miss your payment.
Yes.
Because that's going to stay on your credit for at least 7 years. But having a high balance, once you pay it off, it's just going to disappear, right?
Exactly.
And having high balances also show that you rely on credit for your everyday expenses. And the banks don't look at it as a positive thing. But at the same time, it's very, very important for clients, first-time home buyers, to understand whatever you do not miss your payments. If you have high balances, at least make the minimum payment, but never miss your payments. Because those things, they're going to affect your application in a very negative way. And the second important thing you mentioned, is that when you're looking at a property, do not just get attracted by the staging. Also look at the location and all the other things, because all these things, let's say if the property doesn't have a nice paint or all those small renovations, that can be done. It's not a big thing. But if you purchase a wrong property just because the staging was done properly, then it won't be a good decision in the long run.
Exactly. And our goals are to help our clients build wealth through real estate. And so if we make the wrong first step, it could actually set us back by about 10 steps, right? So we're in a situation where you are now equipped to become a homeowner. It is my duty and your duty to set them up for success, right? A lot of these lists, for example, you can tell if they're cheap. Maybe they haven't, looked at the furnace, the roof, the windows. Next thing you know, the house looks pretty, but it's breaking on you. And then this is 20, 30K in expenses that you do not have. And then we're in a situation where we become house poor, our quality of living goes down, and we might even offload the property for a loss. And then we're set back from where we even were in the first place.
I think that's where working with a professional realtor like you comes in the picture.
Or mortgage professional like you. Yes.
It's a teamwork. And of course, that plays a major role. And a lot of times are purchasing a property. And what sort of property is a good property? That is your expertise. Our expertise only comes when the property comes in the picture, right? Or we can always guide the clients in the beginning at the time of pre-approval that make these changes. You'll be in a better position in the next few months. But I think because you guys are the face of the transaction, so a lot of responsibility goes on your shoulders. And then, of course, our support is always there. So now let's come back to your transactions in the real estate industry. Do you prefer or do you like working with buyers or seller clients?
I like working with all my clients. Okay. I love all you guys. I would say that right now, I really like working with buyers. I find that sellers, I just want to help people build wealth through real estate. A lot of sellers that I work with, they're a little older. So they've already purchased a property. They know what it's like to have pride of ownership, to even have a property under their name. And my goal is to help as many people as possible put properties under their name. And that really starts with the acquisition of real estate. And at the end of the day, you win with the buy, right? So I always want to make sure that I get people a good deal in a good area, or at least a fair price, so that they will see the fruits of their labor down the road. Also, it's such a personal experience and to be asked to be like the person who guides their family into the next chapter of their life where they might aspire to have children or get married or start that next chapter. And the home is the most like sacred space. And for you to want me to support you on that is invaluable. And then the blessing is that a lot of my clients, they do become friends. So after they close on properties, I am like, I knock on the door. They're like, come in, look at all the stuff I did to the property. Like they're very excited. Once again, they're very proud of what they own because a lot of the clients I work with, they don't even think ownership is possible, right? Like they see all of these news headlines. Oh, it's impossible to buy a house. You need to make like $500,000, all of these things. But when they sit down with me and we break it down, a lot of them are like, oh my gosh, I'm actually in a position to potentially purchase. And then they purchase. And it's like that to me is huge because they didn't think that it would have been, you know, achievable otherwise, you know, and some of my clients now they've purchased and now they're in the process of selling and wanting to move up because they've had a kid. And it's even just like seeing their family grow up together is it's priceless. Yes.
And now when you're working with buyers, do they prefer the condos or freehold?
So here's the thing. That's a great question. A lot of my clients, they come to me, they say, hey, look, my budget is around, you know, $600K. I want to buy a condo. And I'm like, okay, no problem. But once again, I have to educate them. Are you willing to drive a little bit further out so you can buy something that doesn't have condo fees? Because with your condo fees, that doesn't go towards the principal of your mortgage.
100%.
That's money that is sort of just going to the condo. So I personally... My clients, after I educate them, they prefer freeholds, but it does come potentially at a cost. How far away are you willing to drive in order to purchase? A little bit of a rule of thumb that I say to my clients, of course, take it with a grain of salt, is for every hour away from the GTA that you drive, you're getting about $100,000 off your purchase price. So are we willing to meet that budget and get something freehold if we drive 2 hours out, right? If my clients are remote, sometimes that's not a problem. But then I have other clients, they like to, you know, go out, go downtown. That's not feasible. And then that's when they'll get into the condo market. And I also want to be aware of condo fees and also the builder, right? Because we want to make sure that the condo fees aren't going to be, you know, increasing at absorbent rates over time. And you also want to make sure that you're getting your money's worth. So if the condo fee is, you know, $500-600 a month and all it's covering is parking and building insurance, there's no pools, there's no gyms, there's no nothing. Are you really getting the ROI on those condo fees? So I would say most of my clients like freeholds, but when they come to me, they think that maybe condo is their only option. But once they're educated on what they can get in different areas, they're a bit more open to the freeholds.
Right. And that's exactly what I was assuming, that a lot of people would prefer living in a freehold property and not worry about paying the condo fee. But at the same time, I understand that some people, they prefer living in a condo or maybe a penthouse or something where they have all the facilities inside the building. I know a friend of mine, he lives in a penthouse and there's a small grocery store right within the building. So he was like, for buying stuff, I don't even have to leave the building. Even if there's a snowstorm, I will still be in my shorts and purchasing, groceries.
Yes.
And I don't have to leave the building. So some people prefer that convenience.
Like the convenience. And it's like, you don't have to worry about your roof, your window, all of those things, right? Too. So it depends on if you're wanting investment versus like lifestyle, right? And there could be condos too that are great investments, don't get me wrong. But a lot of people do tend to err on their freeholds. But like you said, I even purchased a condo townhouse and a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you got a condo townhouse. And it's like, well, there's a few things that are going to be covered by the condo corporation that I at least have peace of mind that I don't have to worry about. So it really just depends on your goals and also your price point. Because the thing is too, as a first time home buyer, we might be pre-approved for 500, 600K. But once we take maintenance fees into consideration, that could, you know, decrease what we're pre-approved for. So those are a couple of things. And one thing that I also wanted to just go back on, a lot of my clients think that they can't purchase properties when they have student debt, right? And it's once again sort of going to the fact that it's how much you're paying on a monthly basis as opposed to the overall number of your debt. So that's another myth that I try to sort of demystify when we're having conversations. And then just the fact that we want to have our payments at least in remittance, because if not, then they're going to take a higher percentage than what you're most likely going to be paying, right? So just like you guys, just education.
100%. And as you were saying, it's the monthly payments that affect the qualification more than the balances. You can have a higher balance, But with a lower monthly payment, that's still better than having a lower balance with a high monthly payment.
Exactly.
Because it affects your ratios in a negative way.
Talk to them about the car lease financing thing real quick, please. Yes. Yes.
Car leases, yeah, of course. I've seen clients' credit where the car payments are about $2,000. And a lot of different communities, a lot of different clients. And some people like flashy cars. I mean, I like cars, but you have to understand how the credit works. And having a major car payment, I think anything over $1,000 is gonna negatively impact your qualification 100%. I mean, if you're a first-time home buyer, you must know that do not sign up for big car leases. Car leases also shows up on your credit, and even if you have 5 months left, it's still gonna affect unless you pay it off completely. Because it's still your financial obligation on a monthly basis, right? On the top of the mortgage you're trying to get.
Exactly. And I feel like with social media, a lot of people try to keep up with the Joneses, right?
And never, ever co-sign for a car loan. A lot of times, I just co-sign, but that negatively affects your ability. I mean, the rule of the thumb is any payment that shows on your credit is 100% going to negatively affect your affordability. So you have to make sure you don't sign up for the things you don't need unless you purchase your house and now you're in good shape. And then you can go ahead and do, make those crazy expenses.
Yeah.
But before that, and a lot of time I've also seen, just for your and the client's knowledge, is getting small loans. For example, I've seen a lot of loans, in-store loans. For example, if you're trying to purchase a large TV, let me set up payments for you, right?
Oh,
so those payments are also showing on the credit.
Okay.
And now, just because you purchase a home theater set for maybe 10 grand and you decided to make $200 a month payment, it's going to show up on your credit. So all these payments, some people like to purchase everything on credit. But I think if you haven't purchased your property yet, do not purchase or do not have a strong or large monthly payments on your credit.
Exactly. And then even once our offer is accepted, that doesn't mean we've closed on the property and it's yours yet. So we want to hold off on all of those fancy things until you take ownership of the property.
There was a funny scenario. A client purchased a property.
Okay.
And before the closing, he went in and he purchased all the appliances using his credit card.
Is this a funny story?
That is a very funny story.
Okay. He figured it out though?
Luckily, some lenders, they don't pull your credit before the closing. So he went away with it. But I told him that this is not how you should be acting before your closing, because some lenders, they will pull your credit. They will do a soft pull or something, and they will see that, okay, now your liabilities have changed. So, of course, to be extremely safe, it's really important to know, do not go and purchase anything on your credit. No changes unless you have closed on that property. That also goes to the builder files that we do. If you're purchasing a pre-con, you have a pre-approval. That doesn't mean now your situation can change completely, and you will have no issues at the time of closing. So make sure what you're presenting at the time of application and at the time of closing, even if it's 2 years, all those things remain the same. So your employment, your income, your monthly expenses, your obligations do not change.
Yes.
So that is a rule of thumb. And again, as I was saying before, the credit, it's very important to understand. You can have a higher balances. There's a way you can pay it off. Maybe part of your down payment can go towards paying off those balances, but never, ever, ever miss a payment.
Yes.
Even if it's $10 a month, just pay it. So these are my takes for the first-time home buyers.
I agree, and I appreciate you adding that value to this podcast. Hopefully they're taking notes. That's all I'm saying.
The reason I was interested in speaking more about the credit is because your content is all about education. And the first time I saw the video, I was like, that is some serious study she has put into her content. She's not just making videos for the sake of putting out the content. 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, semi-detached, none of that stuff. And it's all researched. And any first-time home buyer or anybody that's looking to make a transaction in the real estate world and will gain value from it.
Thank you so much.
It's all about the value and the money. You will get the money 100%. Eventually, as you were saying, how many deals you did because of social media in the last year, that's outstanding. So the clients will also judge you on the basis of what exactly your strategy is. If you're just about selling, then of course, people don't see the value because they're like, everybody's trying to sell me something, right?
Yeah.
But who is the person that is trying to actually help me do better in life? So that's where the education comes in. And I'm sure the work you're doing on social media is outstanding, and your followers gain a lot of value.
Thank you.
And I hope you keep on doing the great work.
I will.
So, but at the same time, I would like to thank you for your time and joining me for this podcast. I'm pretty sure the viewers will gain some value from this.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your time.
And I appreciate you having me, and also just the value that you're adding. Because once again, I'm very focused on having the industry as a whole just provide more value to the consumers. And I feel like having a podcast like this, where not only do I do my research, you're doing your research on who you guys, both you guys, shout out to both you guys. You guys are both doing your research on who you're going to bring onto the podcast, because you want to make sure that people you're bringing on are credible and are going to provide value. So you guys are creating a resource for consumers where it's a one-stop shop and they can learn a lot. So kudos to you guys for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Of course.